Life's too short to drive boring cars. With the automotive industry quickly evolving into electrification, a clean environment is transitioning into #1 priority. And while this is the socially responsible move, doing so doesn't actually mean that you have to compromise the fun, practicality, and excitement that we used to know with the internal combustion engine-based vehicles. Some of the early generation electric vehicles, for example the Nissan Leaf and the Tesla Model S or the Model X, proved what was actually capable with electrification, but unfortunately they didn't come without their issues. Electrical problems, fitment issues, and shorter operating ranges meant that the electric vehicle certainly had its limits. Today I'd love to show you the next generation vehicles that have impressed me the most and prove the driving experience can be all that exciting with these amazing new battery-powered cars. In addition, be sure to check out our unique Omaze website for a chance to win a great new vehicle on our list at omaze.com/exotic-car-play-place. Check it out. And so my first choice goes out to an absolutely amazing vehicle, and it's the 2021 Ford Mustang Mach-E GT Performance, like this one. Absolutely beautiful vehicle. I love the stance, the profile. It brings sport back to utility. Right there you can see we have the Mach. There you go, the Mach-E. And we have Brembo brakes just to provide the extra stopping power for this sporty electric vehicle. Look at the front end. I love that very aggressive nose of this vehicle and this really pronounced front lip that actually does look extremely performance-based. How about the little splitters you see there, and as well these great LED headlights? What about the Mustang front grille? You don't need breathing anymore. It's not an internal combustion engine. A great accented hood. Plug-in port on the driver's side, high-gloss black mirrors, and this wonderful strip of light. I love these little handles. How about that, as well as that little camera? And you've got a full panoramic glass top. And how about that very accentuated rear finish? Very sporty, very raked. And you can see at the tail, it also takes away some of the Mustang's profiles. It takes the base Mustang's tail lights and builds and makes them even more interesting. And here we have the GT, as we spoke of. And then we look down the side, and it's absolutely beautiful with all the contours and forms. And of course, we have color-matched fender flares and an overall stance that's guaranteed to make your neighbor envious. All of this while you're making the responsible choice on buying an electric vehicle. What about the inside? Absolutely beautiful vehicles, aggressively bolstered seats, door panels that looks next level, and the vehicle feels as good as an Audi in terms of the updated style and quality finishing. So truly for me, the new Mustang Mach-E GT Performance is in fact my favorite current generation electric vehicle. It takes the electrified vehicle to an entirely new level. Lucky for you, there's an opportunity to be among the first to own an all-electric Mustang, the exhilarating Mach-E GT Performance. So you can win this through Omaze, who created a fundraising platform for a new generation of donors. With seating for 5, stylish black interior, and an outstanding 480 horsepower. This new Mach-E GT can rip a 0 to 60 in a blistering 3.5 seconds and yet still run for a rated range of 235 miles. If you won this car, where would be the first place you would take it for a ride? Donate and you are entered for the chance to win this Mustang Mach-E GT Performance. This supports the Joey Logano Foundation, which invests in organizations that offer second chances to children and young adults during times of crisis. They strive to create supportive communities where all children and young adults are able to live with dignity in times of adversity. Enter for your chance to win a 2021 Ford Mustang Mach-E GT Performance and support a great cause. Go to omaze.com/exotic-car-play-place. Now the next one on my list is actually one that brings real luxury to the equation. And it's a wonderful, glorious Audi e-tron, as we have parked right behind me right here. These cars are absolutely beautiful. And for many people, the Audi e-tron will be a blessing in disguise. The old internal combustion vehicles that Audi pumped out often had issues with timing chains, water pump leaks, coolant leaks, excessive oil consumption, and countless other issues like O2 sensors and transmission issues, carbon fouling, you name it. If you've owned it, you probably know where I'm coming from. But the e-tron takes that all away because it's battery and electric motor driven. But let's take a quick look first. Beautiful, there's your Audi front grille, and it's the e-tron. You'll notice in brushed aluminum, looks very slick. And of course Audi with their beautiful LED headlights. And you'll notice lots of piano gloss black around the fender wells and as well along the rocker panels. Leads you to a beautiful set of wheels right there. Keyless. And more keyless entry right there. How about that large and oversized mirror? Gives you lots of great visibility. And the hood is fairly conventional Audi by all stretches. Of course, at the top, you'll notice it has a sunroof. And you still have all kinds of vents for effect. in the wonderful and glorious e-tron. And yes, they have this wonderful brushed aluminum roof rack to facilitate your multiple trips to the dump hauling old scrap garbage. And you'll notice I love the finish of the back end. Looks very raked, far more than most of their SUVs. The whole vehicle feels more compressed. And the beautiful finished look of that taillight assembly and more high gloss black finishing on the bumper. Of course, here you go, you've got to plug it in regularly. But the win in all of this is you don't have to do oil changes and all of the standard servicing that you would do with an internal combustion engine because it's pure electric. Maybe every 10 years you've got to swap out the full set of batteries, which isn't insignificant, but that's about as far as you go. Brakes, tires, that's about the only other things you're going to be doing on a regular basis. But why is this vehicle so great in my opinion? Well, this vehicle produces about 230 peak kilowatts, or basically a continuous 100 kilowatts, and that translates to about 399 pound-feet of torque in the base model. Top speed of 118 miles per hour, and a 0 to 60 run of 6.8 seconds means you're not going to win a ton of races, but it's peppy enough for daily commute. But that's the base model. Then you have the e-tron GT, which takes the performance to a whole new level with over 500 horsepower and a 0 to 60 in a blistering 3.1 seconds. And yes, it can top to 155 miles per hour given enough space. So all of this performance and luxury, and as well you can get 212 miles on a single charge, means it's an extremely easy vehicle to live with, full of luxury and amenities, and one of the more attractive electric vehicles on the market today, the Audi e-tron. And the next electric vehicle on my list, that's one of my favorites. And it just proves that not everyone has to be very expensive and high output. What we have here is the Chevy Bolt EV and EUV right here. I personally love the looks of these vehicles. This proves that they can be frugal, versatile, and stylish all wrapped up into one great little package. I love this vehicle. And we're dealing with the Bolt EV as you see right there. And you'll notice there's no grille because it's not an ICE engine type vehicle. It has these great little headlights and as well another great finish on the bottom grille section. Now the side panel looks very, very simplistic, but it runs to a high back here, which brings a little style to the finish of the back end of the vehicle here. Love the rear taillight assembly. We're talking LEDs in this Chevy. And of course you've got versatility with the overhang. You've got a rear wiper. You've got the plastic guards to protect the paint from rocks off the wheels. And as well, along the bottom, you look at the rocker panel. It's plastic with that nice hint of chrome. And there's your charging port right there. How about that great little mirror right there with this beautiful chrome accent? And a nice high roof line to allow passengers ease of access in and out of the vehicle. Look at these great wheels. And the interior, although it's not dressed up like a BMW, it also doesn't feel bottom of the barrel, and it's nicely accentuated with multicolors and several different tones and finishings. You've also got seating for 3 in the back, 2 in the front, and a little bit of storage capacity in the trunk space right here of this wonderful Bolt EV. Now they're also very, very easy to live with because they go a fairly long range. On the EUV version, you can get up to 247 miles on a single charge, or the EV, which we have here, you can go up to 259 miles on a single charge. It does run a 65 kilowatt hour system on there, and with 200 horsepower and 266 pound-feet of torque, you betcha it's got a lively experience. And you can even charge it within 7 hours on the 240 volt system. So it's very versatile to have that installed in your home. Now, unfortunately, there's been some recent press about overcharging conditions, and there's been a couple of these Chevy Bolts go up in flames. They're currently investigating, and they're looking at adjusting that through a recall. As a matter of fact, Chevy's upping the ante with an 8-year and 100,000 mile warranty to cover the drivetrains on these wonderful Bolt EVs. Fun, frugal, fast, affordable, and we'd be all doing our part to improve the air quality on the globe. The Chevy Bolt EV. And what kind of list would we be talking about if we didn't talk about the pioneer, and that's Tesla? So 2 major honorable mentions. Of course, we had the Model X, which was their first SUV, had the Falcon doors, which often failed, problematic. Then we had the Model S like this. And the Model S was a beautiful vehicle, handsome, luxurious, with a stunning profile and performance to boot. I mean, let's take a quick look at this. They've got the great headlights on these, absolutely amazing and clean looking finish on the front end. Great mirrors with these awesome little chrome trims. Of course, this one's sitting on the ground because their suspension was an issue with these vehicles. And there you go, there's your plug-in port on the Model S. And we're dealing with the P100D right here with the great taillights and lots of glass on top to see inside this wonderful cabin. But these had a lot of problems because they were a pioneer. The Model X and the Model S had lots of problems. For example, suspension issues. We have fitment issues. Obviously, panel gaps were a problem on a lot of these earlier vehicles. Wider here than it is up there. Paint problems were prominent. Transmission issues were a big deal, as well as drive shafts and U-joints were problematic and reported as a big issue. But it's even these handles right here. These are also a problem. Some were in further than others. Sometimes they didn't work at all. These cars were plagued with issues, largely because they were first-generation vehicles. But this is where the good news goes on. We're not talking about the Model S or X, which had a lot of problems. We're now talking about the new Model 3. This is the newer version, slightly scaled down. The beauty with these is you can get them from $48,000. And yes, they'll crack a 0 to 60 mile per hour time in about 3.3 seconds. Where can you get that level of performance at that price range? Nowhere else that I can think of. But they're a smaller, scaled down version of what you see in the S. They have a lot of the similar shapes and technology. For example, you got that little camera there, smaller scaled down mirrors, and of course you have a similar handle setup. You've also got glass roof and a similar charge port. You've got these great Tesla wheels, two-piece, and an overall profile that does look very attractive. A wonderful new style of headlight, and again, a similar profile to the Model S, although this one looks a little cab higher than you see in the Model S. The Model 3 is a great new model. They also have a great range at 360 miles, and there's room for 5 passengers in total. It's a great, practical, reliable, and high-performing vehicle by Tesla in the performance model like this. But a second honorable mention actually has to go to the new Model S Plaid. Have you heard about that? 133 grand. How about 1,000 horsepower plus? How about 0 to 60 times that can crush and decimate any sport bike on the market today? Yes, the new version of the Model S now is worth mentioning. Even though at $133,000 it's not a cheap proposition, it is in fact a game changer. And there's lots of videos all over the internet where it destroys McLarens, Porsches, Lamborghinis, and even sport bikes, if you can believe it. The Tesla Model 3, Y, and as well the new Model S Plaid. Definitely worth taking a look at. Now the next one on my list is one that actually truly comes from a motorsport background, and it's the Porsche Taycan as we see right here. And there's many different variations from the base model to the 4S to the Turbo and the Turbo S. They all bring something a little bit different and step up the ante in terms of power. But let's take a quick look first. Here we have the Porsche Taycan in one of its very forms. Beautiful wheels. Absolutely love the blade style of those wheels. And here we have a Taycan 4S. Love those rear tail lights. Of course, they have this different style of rear diffuser and essentially what looks like to be the equivalent of a stretched out Porsche 911. You've got extra vents, big brakes, a different style of headlight, which makes it stand out from the crowd, a wide, broad front end that gives it a real presence on the street, and you'll notice more vents on the front. And there's your plug-in port right there and a great set of mirrors with the light. And naturally, because it's a Taycan, you get 4 doors and you get enough room there for 5 people in total. You have a retractable wing and glass panel on top, allows for a lot of illumination in this fine vehicle. Now it is quite a lengthy vehicle at that, but that's a big part of its presence and its practicality is it allows transport for many people. But there's 2 different style of batteries that come in this. You get a 79 and a 93 kilowatt hour battery as option. And let's talk about some of the performance. 0 to 60, 5.1 seconds on the base model. You can crack the 0 to 60 mile per hour in 3.8 seconds for the 4S, which is what you see here. How about a 3-second 0 to 60 in the Turbo and a blistering 2.6 seconds up to 100 kilometers an hour with the Turbo S. These cars are absolutely amazingly quick with Porsche quality, Porsche design, and the motorsports history makes this vehicle a real must-have if you've been shopping for a performance electric vehicle. And with all of that said, be sure to click there if you want an opportunity to enter for a chance to win the new Mustang Mach-E GT Performance. Takes you to my site, omaze.com/exotic car play place, and check that video if you just want to learn about more vehicles that won't make 60,000 miles. Hope to see you real soon. Catch you then. Bye-bye.